Hey there, it's JT with the Most Haunted City on Earth podcast. We'll get to the episode in a second, but first I wanted to let our listeners in on some good news. After the success of our episode on the Wendigo, where we did a collaboration between our two podcasts, we at the Savannah Underground have decided to bring From One to Wicked podcast to the Most Haunted City on Earth podcast. To avoid any confusion, all this means is all future From One to Wicked episodes will be uploaded to the Most Haunted City on Earth podcast page. This means up to 2 more episodes a week. Join our Patreon if you want every episode up to a week early and enjoy this episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From One to Wicked. My name is Madison Timmons.
And I'm JT Timmons.
And today we are going to talk about one of the most interesting exorcism cases.
I love a good exorcism.
I also love a good exorcism.
I think everyone does. Yeah, all of our listeners, I think that you just love exorcisms.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're all spooky people here.
We're very spooky.
So we're going to actually talk about the Roland Doe case.
Ooh, very cool. Before we get started on that, I definitely want to thank a few of our newer patrons, give them a shout out.
Woohoo.
And that is Bad Lil Goth, Lauren, Chastity Wynn, and Penny Boyce. Thank y'all so much for your support. And if y'all want to join our Patreon, we have it's like a slew of different things that you can get. There are early episodes, bonus episodes. We post every single day in Patreon, just updating y'all with the new things that we're doing. We low key, but now it's high key, have a series coming out for the Most Haunted City on Earth. So just all that stuff, you don't want to miss it.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So Roland Doe, if you're not familiar with his case, he was the kid that inspired the movie The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm. I knew that.
Which is interesting that they chose to make Reagan a girl when Roland was a boy.
I think just
Reagan is
women.
Creepier.
Well, no, it went like girls in general, like creepy little girls versus a creepy little boy. It's like a creepy little boy. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. But then a creepy little girl, it's like, ugh.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. But like, also, there's some weird things about this case. For the one, why is he called Roland Doe when that's not his actual name? His name is Roland, but that's not his last name. Oh. And so I don't know why we refer to him as Roland Doe, but is...
Maybe the person that called him that is like, a pastry chef. And was like, maybe, I mean, I could see that.
I guess. But yeah, so... I did a lot of research on this, and honestly, I was pretty familiar with this case, but there is some things that I do enjoy about it because they got it right in the movie. Okay. Not necessarily like projectile vomiting and
head twisting backwards.
No, that didn't happen. But there are things in it that they did in the film that actually happened, which I think is pretty cool.
Did he say nasty words?
Well, of course. I mean, every possession case, they say vulgar things.
So here's what I want to know. Here's what I want to. By the end of this episode, I want to confirm for myself that this is a real exorcism.
It's documented.
Sure. I mean, there's plenty of things that are documented, but we read about the German exorcism of.
But I will say though, this is documented.
What's the German one? It's the exorcism
of Clara.
It's anyway. Yeah. We'll get to that. But and that seemed like it was just a messed up family. Exorcising someone who was not possessed with a demon, but
no, this kid was definitely possessed.
Okay.
So
all right. Okay. Well, let's get into it.
All right. So starting out in the 1940s, Roland Doe his actual name is Roland Hunkeler. He's German, so it would be Hunkeler. So his family was German American, and they lived in the suburbs outside of Washington, D.C.
All right.
So pretty much they were a normal family, and things really started to go awry when the family member called Aunt Harriet passed away. And she and Roland were particularly close. Harriet was a spiritualist, and she taught Roland many different types of divination, and she taught him how to use Ouija boards and things like that. So there's no confirmed exact moment where they believe that he became possessed.
You just basically said it.
Yeah.
He wanted to see his Aunt Harriet again, and this malevolent thing was, hey, I'm your Aunt Harriet.
Exactly.
Let me in. Yeah.
Exactly. And because he already believed in those sort of things, and he was young too. He was a young child. So children are, in my opinion, the most susceptible to possession because they're so open to sorts of things and they're so willing to trust entities.
Yeah.
But yes, so in early January 1949, shortly after Harriet's death, Roland began to experience strange things. He heard scratching sounds coming from the floors and walls of his room. Water dripped unexplainably from pipes and walls. His mattress would suddenly move, and Roland claimed he could hear someone walking in his room at night when he was trying to sleep, and there were scratch marks found on his mattress in the morning.
Sounds like he got rats.
Well, eventually the scratch marks would also begin to appear on his body.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, so Roland's family became concerned, and so they ended up seeking help from every expert that they could think of. They had consulted doctors, psychiatrists, their local Lutheran minister.
Just because of the things that Roland was experiencing?
Yes. Yeah, so basically...
But he's not technically possessed yet, though, right?
This is like the early stages of his possession. He was picking up on, he was hearing things, he was getting scratches on his body and stuff like that.
They're thinking he could be potentially have a mental health issue.
Yes. Got it. Well, and that's why they sought out the help of doctors and psychiatrists and eventually their Lutheran minister. But nobody really could figure out what was going on. And there was no clear indication that he had any kind of mental health problems or mental illness.
Yeah. Honestly, you got to go Catholic.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
So.
No, I know we're getting there. That's the thing. Because I've seen The Exorcism. I'm somewhat familiar. Very, very.
The Exorcist, yeah.
Slightly familiar. Yeah, The Exorcist. What did I say?
The Exorcism.
Oh, my bad. No, The Exorcist. But here's the thing. In Savannah, here we had an exorcism of a house, and it was an Episcopalian exorcism. Guess how long that lasted?
Not very long.
How long did it last?
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
3 days. It lasted 3 days, which is obviously, the demon taunting God because, 3 days.
Well, so that's the thing is Catholics have kind of put a chokehold on the exorcism game.
Because they're the best at it. I'm just if I ever get possessed, listeners, hear me out. If I ever get possessed and this woman gets me an Episcopalian priest to come exorcise me, be upset. Get me a Catholic priest, please.
Okay, but what I will say, though, when it comes to exorcisms, it really depends on what demon. It's identifying the demon because if it's a demon of a different faith system, then you might want to navigate that by going about it with a different priest or minister or priestess or whoever it is.
Not me.
Well, I'm just saying if it's not a Catholic demon, then, it's not going to really do much for you if it's not Catholic. Because Catholicism, they only go about their exorcisms in a Catholic perspective.
And it works.
Sometimes, and then people die sometimes. There have been plenty of cases where people have died from exorcisms because the demon doesn't necessarily follow the same
For anyone
system
out there judging me right now, if you're listening and you're like, oh, JT, that's so ignorant. If you're possessed tonight, tell me you don't want a father in that bad boy throwing holy water on you. That's all I got to say. Anyway, let's keep going.
I mean, you can always attempt with Catholic first if you want that. But, I'm just saying.
First and last. Let's do it.
Not all demons follow that. But regardless. Anyways, so basically, they ended up asking their Lutheran minister, and he was really no help. But after the pastor observed the boy overnight at the church, he suggested that the family seek the assistance of the Jesuits.
Okay.
And so the family ended up converting to Catholicism, and they tried to have Roland baptized. But Roland responded to the baptism attempts with intense rage. And at one point, Roland was admitted to a hospital where a psychiatrist attempted to treat him, but was ultimately unsuccessful.
Okay. So
he was incredibly violent towards the priests when they were trying to baptize him.
Okay.
So from there, the family thought moving Roland to a different house might make the spirits leave him alone. They thought maybe it was something attached to the house that they were living in.
That's what I would have thought. Although Chris always says on our other podcasts, The Most Haunted City on Earth, Chris always says that people are more likely to be haunted than houses.
Absolutely.
He always says that. I mean, I love that quote. I'm going to get tatted on my neck. Like, I love that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Unless we get to 100,000 engaged listeners on Apple and Spotify, then I'll get it tatted on my neck. All right.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Anyways,
if we get either that or 50, let's say 100,000 patrons, that's a lot of patrons. 50,000 patrons, I'll get that tatted on my neck.
Okay. Well, all right then. But
she's like, I don't want that.
I don't want that.
She wants baby girl, obviously.
Anyways, so but yeah, so they thought maybe moving out of the house would make the spirits leave him alone. But even when they moved to a different house, they didn't move really far. But the strange kind of occurrences still happened.
Okay.
And the family felt like they were out of options. And so they called upon the priests to perform an exorcism, because at this point, Roland had become very violent. He was showing signs of being possessed, where he was withdrawn.
Sure.
He was
not eating.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. It's so hard to, tell
exactly
if it is possession or a severe mental health issue. A lot of the times, even a revulsion, in my opinion, a revulsion to like things like holy water or prayers or anything like that over them, that could be mental health. Where I kind of like draw the line for possession, where I'm like, that's not mental health, is when they start speaking different languages.
Sure.
I'm like, bruh.
Yeah. No, when they know knowledge that they shouldn't have any kind of idea of, that's when I get suspicious. But like when it comes to religious, like, like reactions and stuff, there is like sides of like bipolar disorder, and when people are in manic episodes where they start feeling like they have this connection to God, or sometimes it's the exact opposite, where they have a revulsion to religion. It's just something that happens sometimes.
Sure.
But I will say though, that most people who perform exorcisms, I know at least in the Catholic Church, they are required to prove without a reasonable doubt that it is not mental illness before they are even approved to have an exorcism. So
you have to have that, or you have the, oh my gosh, why can't I not remember the German exorcisms? The German exorcism's name.
It's hold on, I'll tell you.
So what it sounds like is that she's Googling it right now. What it sounds like is they've exhausted
Annalise Mikel.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, hers was torture.
That was over here like Klaus or something.
No, that was the one. That was the girl in Africa.
Clara, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the girl in Africa.
Gotcha. Annalise Michelle or Mikel. Okay. Yeah. That was that. If y'all are not familiar with that, we're not going to do an episode on that. We thought about doing an episode on that, but then we did some heavy research and we were like, wait, this is not a possession.
No.
It was a mental health issue. Right? And it was a mental health issue.
Severe mental health.
And her family killed her. So y'all do, we're not going to do an episode of that. We could do a mini episode for Patreon, but definitely go ahead and look it up. And it's a very disturbing story, and it did happen.
And it was torture. It was basically torture.
So, moving on.
but this case was not.
Yep.
So
So they exhausted all other options.
Yes.
They did all the stupid stuff. Then they did the thing they were supposed to do in the
Yes.
beginning. Got it.
And so from there, the family would contact Father E. Albert Hughes, the local Catholic priest,
Okay.
who asked his superiors permission to perform an exorcism and on the boy in late February of 1949, and the church granted Hughes' request.
Real quick, just going back, you said that they converted to Catholicism?
Yes.
Why?
They believed that if they converted to Catholicism and they had Roland baptized, then the demons wouldn't
So maybe
I
do
also
you
think the Catholic Church wouldn't accept them.
Sure.
If they
Yeah,
didn't
that's what
convert to
I'm
Catholicism.
thinking. That's what I'm thinking. So I don't know. I don't know. I wish we had the Pope here so we could ask him. But basically, if you're not Catholic, are you screwed?
I don't
Because that's
know.
crazy. I would think that, that the Catholics would understand that, I don't know if you're a believer or not, but obviously they are. I would think that the Catholics would believe that God would want them to help anybody, no matter what their religious.
I don't know.
Preferences are.
A lot of Catholic churches are very closed off to people who are not Catholic. So I feel like
I don't know. If we have a Catholic listening that's familiar with that, please let us know, because I do believe that they would help about anybody.
But it's also really hard with Catholics demonology, Catholic demonology, because of the fact that it's so closed off.
Yeah, they really
They
do rope
really
it off
keep it
when they
close
could be
to-
entertaining us.
Right. They keep it very close to the chest, and it's hard to get accurate information. That's not just pieces of things that they allow the public to know. So maybe the Catholic Church told them that they had to convert to Catholicism first. I don't know, but they did that. So, basically, Father Hughes's request for the exorcism was granted, and for the exorcism, Hughes had strapped the boy to the mattress and began the recitations. But he had to stop the rite when Roland broke off a piece of the mattress spring and slashed the father across his shoulders, leaving the exorcism unfinished. Yeah.
Whoa. And how old is this little boy?
He's they didn't confirm exactly what age he was when he got confirmed or exorcised, but basically he's somewhere around the ages of 8 to 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're seeing superhuman power from a kid this
unnatural strength.
Wow, y'all. Mm-hmm. So this actually happened.
Yes, all of this is confirmed.
I believe in demons. I believe in demons 100%. And that is honestly, that's why I don't mess with Ouija boards. I don't even try to talk to the dead, because I ain't trying to let anything in that could be like this. But this is crazy.
Mm-hmm. It is crazy.
This proves a lot.
And so, basically, Father Hughes said that he was not going to try to exorcise him anymore. But a few days after that first unsuccessful exorcism, red scratches started to appear on Roland, and one of the scratches formed the word Lewis, which indicated to Roland's mother that the family needed to go to St. Louis, where they had relatives.
Huh?
And they thought that was a sign, essentially saying that they needed to go to St. Louis.
Why would the demon?
I completely agree, but
that doesn't make any sense.
But that is that. So
they still alive? Can we call him and ask him?
No, everybody's super dead. But I will say though, so in the movie The Exorcist, the famous White House that they do the exorcism in, that was in St. Louis. The exorcism that The Exorcist is based off of was in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
It was DC.
No, they moved from DC after that first exorcism failed.
Duh.
And then
yes, because they thought it might be the house.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so they lived in DC, lived in one house, and the incident started happening. Then they moved to another house in DC.
Oh, so okay, so all that was now they're moving to St. Louis because of the word Lewis.
Yes.
Got it.
That was scratched on his chest.
Got it.
And so they had family that lived there, and they thought maybe that was what they needed to save their son, essentially.
Heard.
And so they had a cousin of the family who was attending St. Louis University at the time, and she put the family in touch with Father Walter H. Halloran and Reverend William Bowdern.
Okay.
After consulting with the university's president, these two Jesuits agreed
So that one priest,
he said, he gave up on him.
he gave up just over a scratch.
Yeah, a lot of.
Come on,
So a lot of people like they
it's
go.
your job, bro.
Yeah, but a lot of people go into exorcisms and then they like see like how horrible they can be, and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. So, yeah.
Okay.
So basically, these two Jesuits agreed to perform an exorcism on Roland with the help of several assistants.
Okay.
So the men gathered at the famous Exorcist house on Roanoke Drive in early March of 1949. There, the exorcist witnessed scratching on the boy's body and the mattress moving violently. These were the same things that happened in Maryland when the first exorcism failed.
Yeah.
So, along with the strange happenings, Bowdern and Halloran, according to their reports, noticed a pattern in Roland's behavior. He was calm and normal during the day, but at night, after settling in for bed, he would exhibit strange behavior, including screaming and wild outbursts. Roland would also enter a trance-like state and start making sounds in a guttural voice. The priest also said they saw objects flying in the boy's presence and noted that he would react violently when he saw any sacred object presented by the attending Jesuits.
Yeah. So this is for
like
sure
classic demonic possession.
demonic possession. It's only classic because of
because of him,
The Exorcist.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because of the movie, because everyone associates all of this to this because of that movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so at one point during the week-long observation before they did the exorcism, Bowdern reportedly saw an X appear in scratches on Roland's chest, which the priest believes signified the number 10.
10?
Yep. And well, you'll see in a second.
Okay.
Another incident, a pitchfork-shaped pattern of red lines moved from the boy's thigh and went down towards his ankle. This would happen every night for more than a month.
This poor kid.
I know, right?
Jeez.
But once the red X appeared on Roland's chest, the priest believed he was possessed by 10 demons, because X being the Roman numeral for 10.
Oh, so he tried to like see his grandma, like and probably open up
his aunt.
His aunt, sorry, and opened up a portal, and 10 whole demons came in.
I mean, it happens, but it's like. But
or maybe one came in and was like, kept the door open, like, hey, come on in.
Well, so here's the thing is there have been reported incidents of people being possessed by multiple demons.
No, I know that.
It is totally possible, but it is less likely than just being possessed by a single demon.
Sure.
But regardless, so the two fathers never gave up, and they continued to do exorcisms night after night. And on the evening of March 20th, the exorcism reached an unhealthy new level.
Ooh.
So Roland had urinated all over his bed and began shouting and cursing at the priests. Now, Roland's parents thought they were torturing him. So basically, they stopped the exorcisms and they took him to Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis for a more serious treatment.
More serious than an exorcism?
Yeah, so they thought that he was being tortured, and they're like, well, maybe he's not possessed, and maybe all these fathers are torturing our son.
Come on.
Right?
Let's be real, dude.
And so, but the two exorcists, they did not give up on Roland, and they ended up going to Alexian Brothers Hospital. And on April 18th, what they refer to as a miracle occurred in Roland's room at the hospital. It was the Monday after Easter, and Roland woke up with seizures. He yelled at the priest, saying that Satan would always be within him. So the priests laid holy relics, crucifix, medals, and rosaries on him. And at 10:45 p.m. that evening, the attending priest called on Saint Michael to expel Satan from Roland's body.
Yeah.
They shouted at Satan, saying that Saint Michael would battle him for Roland's soul.
Ooh.
7 minutes later, Roland came out of his trance and said he's gone. The boy recounted how he had a vision that Saint Michael vanquished Satan on a great battlefield.
That's dope.
And according to Bowdern and Halloran, the strange occurrences and behavior ceased immediately after that. And despite providing the true story of the Exorcist, Roland Hunkler went on to live a completely normal life from that moment forward.
Wow, is he dead?
He is dead now.
Man, how'd he die?
Yeah, well, I was about to go into that.
Sorry. Jumping ahead.
I know, right? JT always jumps ahead of my stories. I know,
everything. You do the research.
Yes.
I know.
All right, so following the exorcism of Roland Doe, his family moved back to the East Coast. It was said that Roland would end up finding a wife and starting a family. Aww. And he named his first son Michael after the saint believed to have saved his soul.
Wow. Dope.
And Roland Edwin Hunkler died in 2020, a month before his 86th birthday, after suffering a stroke at his home in Marrittsville, Maryland. Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do we have an interview with this man? Like, someone had to have filmed him.
So I think
talk about this.
I think he was a rather private man afterwards, understandably so.
No, that's so fun.
Well, I get that. I didn't find any kind of interviews. There might be some somewhere, but I'd have to do some digging on it. But I think he was a fairly private individual because, I mean, obviously his case was so like publicized. Yeah. I feel like the only sense of normalcy he would get is if he didn't do like media interviews and stuff like that. And also it's a very traumatic event to go through, and some people don't necessarily want to like rehash.
Yeah, I know. I hope there is an interview out there. Like if anyone knows of an interview, definitely, like shoot it over to us if there's a link or anything like that, because I'd love to see it, and we'll give you a shout out. Like, if we do, we'll do like an update. If we find something like that. But
absolutely.
But I mean, I just really hope that someone was able to record his account before it died with him.
Yeah. He also actually had a pretty impressive career. He ended up in his adult life becoming a NASA engineer.
No way.
And his work contributed to the Apollo space missions of the 1960s. Who patented a technology. He patented a technology that helped space shuttle panels withstand extreme heat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
Good for him.
Right?
The glow up.
The glow up, seriously.
The glow up is real.
And following the St. Louis exorcism, the room in Alexian Brothers Hospital was boarded up and sealed, of course. They did not let any other patients stay in that room.
Sure.
And then the entire facility was torn down in 1978. And the house where the family lived in Maryland is now an empty lot after it was abandoned in the 1960s.
All right.
So.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's awesome. I kind of want to go there.
Yeah, to the lot. Yeah.
To the lot.
Absolutely.
You could stand in the area where,
exorcism
where
happened.
a full-blown demonic possession happened. Yeah. I mean, that's really good. I always love going to the St. Julian Street Demon House over there and just looking at it, just knowing what has happened inside of it.
Absolutely. We
should do a From One to Wicked episode on that. And also, I think we are going to do a Patreon exclusive, just telling the story of Annalise McKell.
Yeah, it's a brutal story. It really is.
I think we should do that because again, it's not a haunting, so we can't really put it on this show, but we could still tell the story for anyone that wants to listen on Patreon. Okay,
but on the case of this, definitely for sure in my mind, just classic demonic possession. He was definitely possessed by something. I don't know if it necessarily was Satan or if that was just like kind of a...
I could see a demon lying and saying he's Satan.
Well, sure, but like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that was like, because there's no written record of exactly what was said during the actual exorcism, because obviously there was nobody there with a typewriter sitting there just being like, and then Satan said blah, 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 blah.
Wish there was.
I know. I wish there was
What
too.
were we doing?
But I feel like there was definitely some very malicious and powerful demonic force within him. And they were able to save him, which I think is pretty cool. But in the instance of, like how malevolent is the spirit, obviously it's very malevolent spirit. It has chosen to enter a human's body, which is already one of the most evil acts a spirit could do.
Heck yeah.
To literally hijack a human's entire essence.
Yes.
And then on top of it, it injured people. It tortured that child basically for almost a year, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's like, and from what it seems like, even though there wasn't necessarily like that specific account of like this is how he got possessed, it sounds like exactly what JT said. The entity was trying to say like, oh, I'm your Aunt Harriet and like I'm here.
That's the scariest thing to
exactly
me. It's like if you open up a portal and you're either a little kid or just anybody, and because we mourn so hard, like if I didn't know about, portals, and I didn't know about, the chance that you could let a demon in, if Madison, knock on wood, but if she were to pass away and I didn't know any of that, I would probably try a Ouija board, just to talk to her or hear one. That was freaking creepy. What was that? Something just popped behind us and we're in an empty theater. So that's, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So as I was saying, I know that I would try that out just so I can talk to her, or just see her, and just the fact that there's something that could mimic, her, to make you trust that it is that person, and then all of a sudden, take you over, or, do malevolent things around you. That for sure is very frightening.
Well, anything that like is preying upon your vulnerability and your hurt from losing a loved one is evil, in my opinion.
It's just evil.
So do you want to go ahead and rate
let's do it. Let's do it. You want to go first or me?
You can go first.
All right. So I had this number in my head probably for the past 5 minutes, but I'm going to give the demon or demons that possessed Roland a 7.5.
I would agree with that.
Oh, you're going to go with the same one?
I was going to go with a 7, but I agree with your 7.5.
Yeah, because I mean, I can, on a malevolent standpoint, I can appreciate the resistance it put up against, all the priests and all of that, even making a priest quit, and then also the fact that it was making the family think that the priests are torturing it, like him, and all of that stuff. That all is a very, very powerful, evil entity, with sophistication, right? Like that's an organized demon right there. But it was beat eventually, and it did scram. It really did. It just got right out of that boy. And the boy was able to live a healthy, long life, lived to 86, right? Like, I mean,
just about 86.
So lived to 85. Like, for me, that's what lowers it down from like something like, a 9, like what I gave
Bloody Mackenzie. Yeah.
Because Bloody Mackenzie, again, we'll always bring up Bloody Mackenzie because so far he's been the highest one at a 9. I mean,
absolutely.
We both said 9 too.
Yeah.
Like he
was an evil guy in life and in the afterlife.
Yeah, so and the fact that he isn't a demon, or or I don't know if he's turned into one or whatever, but just the fact that he's just that powerful takes him to that. For me, I feel feel like these are I think these Roland Doe demons are your rudimentary demons. It's the demons that they're probably super creepy looking, and they have hooves and all that stuff.
Well, demons don't always have hooves and horns and stuff.
Well, that's how I visualize.
Well, a lot of people do, but like actually. Traditionally, if you look at depiction of demons are actually quite beautiful because that's
here she goes.
No, seriously, it's a way for you to trust them. Mm-hmm. If this thing comes up to you with horns and a split tongue and like red eyes, you're not going to trust that, and you're not going to give it what it wants.
I'm going to film it.
Right, but yeah,
I would send him down for an interview.
But yeah, I would give it a 7 also, just because.
Well, I said 7.5.
Well. Oh yeah. Well,
are you doing a 7 or 7.5?
I'm giving it a 7.
Okay.
So I would also say that it is very malevolent in the way that obviously it preyed upon his vulnerability. It took advantage of his trust. It manipulated him. It manipulated the family for a long time into, exactly like how JT was saying, where they started to not trust the fathers that were trying to help the child. Also, it caused torment to him. It took away pretty much his entire ability for bodily control. And that's evil, in my opinion, because entities that were never alive were never meant to have any kind of human form or human control. And the fact that it was able to do that is evil.
Absolutely.
But the fact that it didn't kill him, I don't think it was strong enough to kill him. It had to wear him down enough where he was weak enough. And I think it may have eventually tried to kill him, but obviously it was not a powerful enough demon to kill him while he still had some sense of strength.
Sure.
And like you said, he was defeated in the end, or it was defeated. So I think it is evil, but it's not the most evil thing in the world.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that, obviously, because I gave him a 7.5. So I gave it a 7.5. But, when you look at this demon versus something like Bloody Mackenzie, a malicious spirit, versus a full-blown just demon, I think that demons are somewhat less frightening to me than something like Bloody Mackenzie, because if you are possessed by a demon, you believe it, and you believe in demons and all of that, well, then you kind of have to believe in God, right? And so, in my opinion, if there is demonic, presence, you have the comforting thing about a demon is that you have the ability to fight it because you have something stronger than it. You have religion. Yeah. You have Christianity or what other religion that you have. If you're fighting any other type of demon, from a different religion, you always have religion to fight it. With something like Bloody Mackenzie, if you're in Bloody Mackenzie's territory, there's not a thing you can do.
It's true.
There's not a thing you can do because, in my opinion, I don't think he has any association with God whatsoever. That spirit, Bloody Mackenzie, I don't think he has any association with God.
Yeah, I don't think he does.
I think you are just screwed. You're gonna get cut up.
Yeah, if he feels
he's gonna slice you up, buddy. So anyway, next episode is going to be Amityville Horror. We're doing it. Amityville Horror, and unfortunately, Madison told me at dinner last night, she was like, it's not what you think. And I'm
Absolutely.
Like, are we going to ruin Amityville Horror for everybody? Are we about to do that? And Madison, after doing her tons of research, she's like, I've got news. So check out that episode.
Absolutely.
That'll be dropping next. That'll be dropping on Monday. And
And I've kind of enjoyed up until October doing some cases of events that inspired horror movies.
Sure.
Because both of these cases did happen. They are confirmed. And they did inspire some really frightening horror movies. And being horror movie buffs, that's fun for me.
No, I think it's a really good idea. I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So do that. If you want to hear that episode now, You can watch it. You can listen to it on Patreon, because I guarantee you, by the time you hear this, I'm gonna have the next episode up, because I upload them immediately after I'm done cutting them.
Yeah, so definitely consider joining our Patreon if that is something you've kind of been like on the edge of wanting to do.
We treat y'all like family.
It's very true. But yeah, so definitely keep an eye out for the Amityville horror episode. If you guys have any recommendations of spirits that you would like us to cover, please let us know. We are always open to suggestions and stuff like that. But with that being said, also make sure to follow us on TikTok at the Savannah Underground and on Instagram at Savannah Underground. You can also follow my personal Instagram and TikTok, which is Madison Ray Timmons. JT's kind of boring and he's not fun to follow on social media, but
it's not even that. It's not even that. I'm not boring. I'll get to the social media thing. I just like living life in the moment, and
I do too,
and I don't think, I just want to share everything with everybody. I enjoy making these episodes for y'all because I want to eventually, as we grow our Patreon and all of that, I would like to eventually take this to film heights, like making movies or series, which we are actually starting the 13th of this month at the Soroa Weed House. So that's it, is that, I'm a filmmaker. I love visual stuff. I'm not a massive lover of social media. That's where Madison's great, and I'm just over here kind of just wanting to make movies and live happy.
That's fair. But okay, well, we will see you guys in the next episode. So my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm JT Timmons.
And stay spooky, y'all.